All right, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunterdon Real. I'm here with my longtime friend, good friend, Big Tom Langton. So, Tom, thanks for being with me, buddy.
Kyle, thanks for having me, man. Are you going to tell me about high school basketball? Because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
go back 20 something years.
20 some years. We got to talk about that. So that was 1998. I think when we were seniors, me and Big Tom played in it was a holiday tournament for basketball. He
Yes.
was playing at Westfield, and I was playing in Hillsborough. And it was funny as heck. Obviously, we didn't know each other until that point. But well, so people that don't know you, tell them how tall you are first.
Right now, I haven't measured in a while. Probably 6'10", 6'9", 6'10", somewhere. In high school, I was 6'8", 6'9". I've grown a little bit, but it's about 6'9" is a good way to is a good
6'9".
even point. 6'9".
At that point, guys, I was a starting center in Hillsborough, 6'1", and I was that was where I got really into lifting the year before. So I usually had more strength than the other center I was going against, even though I didn't have the height. And then when you go against somebody that's 6'9", I mean that's a different size person. Now remember that day, so I'm just Big Tom's posting me up, and but I remember that night I went bowling with my buddies and I was just beat, man. I'm like, this guy was huge on the other team. I was like, I'm trying to box him out and but it was such a discrepancy. And then, you can't really forget uh, an interaction like that. And it was years later that we became buddies, back in touch, because that was just a one-time thing, and we pieced it together.
I don't remember. I don't remember how we made a connection. We were talking about something. I forget where we made that connection.
Yeah, I think we were talking. We found out that we both graduated the same year. And then, okay, where'd you go? Westfield. And then once you said that, I think I was like, wait a minute. And once I found out you played basketball, just
Yeah.
stuck. Because there was, even when I played AAU ball before that, like sophomore year, junior year, the big men that I went against. Now AAU, I wasn't a center, but I remember when against Josh Moore, who played at. He was up at one of the private schools, but he was 7'1". I think he played at St. Anthony's. And then there was a kid from Christian Brothers Academy that was like 6'10", and then you. So I remember all these, because again, it's
Giant dude.
usual, but you go against, it's like, okay, I remember where these guys played in college and everything. So talk about that too. So basketball was kind of that was something that wasn't your main sport, right?
No way. I was the story with that is I played basketball only 2 years, and I shot up. I went from I grew like 7 inches in a year and a half, something like that. I was always a big guy, but I was kind of like a chubby kid. And then freshman, sophomore year, I went from 6'2" to 6'9". And so I played basketball growing up, but never really I never played AAU. I never played on the travel teams. I was always in town or in the church leagues and stuff like that. But then as a 6'8", 15-year-old, the basketball coach was like, you got to come play. So I didn't really have the skill set. I remember the coach from Rutgers. I went to a recruiting camp at Rutgers, and the coach was like, your defense and your rebounding is great. He's like, we just can't give you the ball. He's like, you can never play here because you just can't score. And I was like, and I think that, so I went more toward football just because of my size and the lack of skills to play. I was probably more suited for basketball, but I just didn't have I started too late.
Yeah. And I can see that being, such a late growth spurt, kind of a late growth spurt.
Yeah.
Where if that was earlier on, maybe you would have been pulled more towards basketball. So with football, what position did you play in high school?
I've played football since 4th grade, and I've been an offensive lineman for. That was it. I was an offensive lineman. Played a little D line, but basically just offensive line. Being the biggest kid, that's what you play. All the way through from 4th grade until I graduated college. That's what I was. I was a lineman. Yeah.
And graduating Westfield High, you got a scholarship to play ball. Tell us about that.
Yeah, went to Central Michigan University, beautiful Mount Pleasant, Michigan. It's what you call a mid-major, so it's a Division I program, but like a smaller Division I program. Went out there, played a couple years. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a great player. At my very best, I was a below average player, but just a chance to get out there and play D1 ball, it was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and what was the in college? What was the heaviest you tipped the scales at, being an offensive lineman, 6'9"?
I probably 330. I probably got to from a playing side. It fluctuated. I got there. I was like 265, 270 coming out of high school, and then immediately they were like, you go from being the biggest kid in high school at 270 to that level of football, and it's like I was the lightest offensive lineman there, and they were like, you got to put on weight, you got to put on weight. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but that's really where like this whole journey for me started, was like, you got to weigh 300 pounds if you want to play here.
Yeah,
and that's where the conversation stopped. And here's the thing, like, I don't blame the coaches. I mean, this is 1999, so it's like there wasn't a lot of nutrition information out there. You know what I mean? Like, we had a strength coach, but he didn't really, it was just more about lift. So there wasn't the same environment now where like the internet and all this stuff is going on, but they were just like, listen, you got to weigh 300 pounds if you ever want to play here. And that's where it ended. So it basically just became a frequency and a volume game. No one was really telling me what to eat. It was just like, I can remember people counting my plates at dinner, like in the cafeteria, how many plates are you having? They would give us, coupons for Domino's pizza, buy one, get one free type stuff. Like, it just became a matter of like frequency and volume of just keep eating. And that, it helped me as a player, but obviously afterward,
yeah,
those habits is what got me in trouble.
Okay, so we'll definitely go back into that. So at Westfield, did you have were you training already at that point? Did you have a personal trainer? Did you have a strength coach?
I mean, we were lifting in the weight room, bigger, faster, stronger. Remember BFS?
Oh, yeah.
So we had bigger, faster, stronger. We had, we had some great high school. I had some great high school coaches, like guys I still keep in touch with, and they would be in the weight room with us, and they were teaching us the basics of lifting and stuff, but nothing nutritionally. And then I got to the point where I was playing multiple sports. I was playing lacrosse, I was playing basketball, but I had a few coaches, because I mean, lacrosse, I was just kind of out there. And I had a few coaches be like, if you want to play college football, you got to start lifting. So I quit lacrosse just to focus on lifting. So I got more into the training side of it, but from a nutrition standpoint, there wasn't a lot. But I never had a strength coach. I never had a trainer until we went to college.
Okay.
Again, that was all like, there was no Newell strength.
No.
In 1999. I don't even know if Parisi Speed School was open. I don't know if there was a spot that you could go. I mean, you could go to the local gym. There was a Bally's down the road that you could get some trainer, but it was just a different thing. There was no sports performance. There was nothing like that then.
Nothing. It was nothing. Yeah, it's funny, man, because I remember reading, I still have the book, Big Beyond Belief. I started reading that junior year of high school, or going into senior year, but it was like Bulgarian system, Tom Platz, Leo Costa. But I remember even the coaches asking me, because at that point I got really into lifting, and they were asking me about lifting. It was kind of like, compare that to today, right? Like,
yeah, right. But there wasn't a lot of information. I think there was a book we got, like something with Nebraska football, like the Husker Power or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was like a paper spiral thing that had some program, but we didn't know what the hell we were looking at. It was just like sets and reps, and we were just going in and lifting. I mean, again, it was the best that we could do, and like our coaches were great for what we had, but
yeah,
it just wasn't a lot of information there.
No, different era, man. And then, now, when you went to Central Michigan, they had a strength coach, I'm assuming, at that point.
Yep. So I mean, and we joke around about it now. I'm sure you see it. Working in a gym is like they send you the packet. So when you first sign for a school, and that summer packet, they send you this. It's like a basic workout packet, with some nutrition and some running stuff. But like when I got that was like my Bible. And like any athlete that's a high school going into college, you know how it is. It's like, we've had kids that we trained at Gabriel for years, and they trust us. And then all of a sudden they get this packet and they're like, this is what I'm doing. I have to do this packet. So that was really like my first organized thing, was just this, like, it was like a basic strength training program. But I followed the packet, and then I went out there, and yeah, I mean, it was the weight room. They had just built a new weight room. They had a full-time strength coach.
Okay.
But yeah, so that, we dove in head first. It became that year-round job of like, you come home twice a year, a week at a time, but you're out there, you're lifting, just kind of get thrown right in that environment. It was great. I loved it.
And the strength coach was it the same strength coach all 4 years out there?
No, first 2 years we had one guy, and then he left, and then usually the strength coaches will leave with the head coaches. So the staff that recruited me left. The head coach resigned. The whole staff left, and then a new staff came in. So usually the strength coach will go. So we had, I think I had the same guy for 2 years, and then another guy. One guy was a little more strength oriented, and one guy was a little more speed oriented. So got a little flavor of both.
And with those two guys, is that where the bug was kind of planted as far as strength training, strength and conditioning? Like,
honestly, no. I mean, yes. I mean, that environment, right? So I didn't really fall in love with it. I loved it because we were around the guys, and I knew I had to do it for performance. But I wasn't like, I didn't become a student of it until after I was done playing. To be perfectly honest with you, I didn't study strength. I didn't study exercise physiology in college. I was a broadcasting, a television major.
Hmm.
So I didn't really become a student of it. I just did what I was told to do.
Okay.
And then when I went through my career, I got injured my 4th year. I tore my ACL. So I think I got a little more in depth then with a little bit more of the rehab stuff and getting involved with that. And then my 5th year, I tore it again, and my career was over. I started coaching, so I became an student assistant offensive line coach, and I just started putting on weight, man. And like, because those habits that we talked about, and then plus I didn't have to get up early, so I started drinking a little bit more, started going out partying a little bit more. Right, it was the first time I didn't have to like have the responsibility of playing, and before you know it, I was over 400 pounds.
Over 400.
Yeah, like probably about a year and a half after I was done playing, I was about 400 pounds.
Okay.
And that's really when I was like, all right, I got to do something about this. So that's when I started looking into, like, I had to learn the strength stuff, but that was more of like, how do I lose weight?
Sure.
I had no idea. So that's really where, for me, the fitness journey started, was like post-career.
Post-career. So you're over 400, and are you still coaching out there at that point, or did you come back to New Jersey?
I coached 1 year out there, and then I graduated, moved back here, and then I coached a year at Westfield, my alma mater, and then I went and so while I was coaching at Westfield, that's when I was really big, and I was like, there were some kids that were going to college and stuff, and they were like, "Can you help me out?" It was a combination of me trying to get back in shape, and then I had a couple of high school kids that wanted to go play in college, and they were like, "Can you help me?" Because, like, I mean, you know how well, back then at least, there was no trainers, right? There was no schools, or gyms. So if you played Division I, you were like, you knew everything.
Yeah.
So these guys were coming to me like, "Oh, you play Division I, you must know how to train people." I had no idea, right? I had no idea. So then I remember I bought Mark Verstegen's book, and I bought Mike Boyle's book, and I was just like copying, and those were really like the first times I dove into it, and I was just like literally copying verbatim what they were telling me to do, and then I was doing training kids, and so the combination of those two really like set me off on that course.
Set you off on that course, and then you had to have, I would imagine, I know you were and you are very big into nutrition. At what point did you start picking that up to help you lose weight?
I mean, basically right off the bat, like,
okay.
that was like one of the first things that, like, because I knew it was like I started looking into nutrition for myself, and it was more about like I didn't know how to cook. I mean, I came out of college, and it was like I mean, we were eating cafeteria 3 meals a day. I mean, I can make the basic stuff, but like, I had taught myself how to cook. I started diving into nutrition books. At the time, it was like the paleo diet was really big. The zone diet was really big. So I was reading all those books, and I was kind of getting into it. And then I got the job at Gabriel Fitness, right? And now it was the first time I really started working with other weight loss clients, because before that, it was all athletes. So when I started working with people that wanted to lose weight, I was like, all right, I got to learn more about this. And that's really when I really dove in, like John Berardi stuff, Charles Poliquin.
Yeah.
And I kind of really like sharpened the tool. But before that, it was mostly just for myself.
Okay. And usually I think that's how it starts, right? With anything, you take a passion and interest in for yourself, and then you can teach it to others.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's always the best way. So you started working over at Vince's Gabriel Fitness. So Big Tom's was there for years.
13 years, 12 years, something like that. Yeah, long time.
Long, man. Like 2008, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Vince is a very good friend of ours. So you start working there. You're training people pretty much like full time, right? And you're studying the nutrition. You're getting into all that stuff. And then you started getting into like biosignature, because I remember that's when me and you became a little closer, when I came to some seminars at you and Vince's place at Gabriel. But then you had already gone to Biosig, or you were going to, I think you had already gone to Biosig.
Yeah.
Right. So talk a little bit about that, because just a chance to learn from Charles Poliquin himself. Like, what made you want to do Biosig?
Yeah. So I mean, we had always kind of like, we'd always read Poliquin, and it was always like almost like a fringe thing, like this, like hormone modulation type thing. There was stuff you read about. I didn't really understand. I wasn't like smart enough to understand it, right? It was just cool to like, and then there's people that shit on them and were like, oh, it's all BS or whatever. So you were kind of like caught in between. And then Vince's wife, Vanessa, you know Vanessa?
Yeah.
She went up there to learn fascial stretch therapy. You guys do fascial stretch.
Yep.
So they used to do all the FST training at Poliquin's place. So she went up there to do FST, and then she like got into, I mean, you know how that world is, that Poliquin world. There's like a little culty, and like they all kind of hung out there. So she got into that world, and then she actually went to Biosig first. She went to Biosig. She came home and she had all these, and like she came home with that book and all this, like all these notes. And so I was like, and then I was hooked on it. And then I started, and then I went probably a couple months later, I went up there, and it was just like, it was almost like, you know, you open the door and you realize how dumb you are. Like it's like and that's really what it was, where it's like, you think you know everything about nutrition, and then you go and you sit in a room and you're the dumbest person. And that's really what it was. I was in a room with 100 people from all over literally all over the world. I mean, Poliquin was teaching, but there was trainers from Dominican Republic, from Scotland, New Zealand. And I'm like, I'm the dumbest person in this room. And then you realize, like, okay, I got a lot more to learn. And I think that was really the catalyst. That was a really cool experience.
It was.
Yeah.
You know, and I know you kept going back. So we'd seen each other at other conferences and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I think that was one of the cool things was different about that was like they forced you to not just like pay more to research, like you had to go and take the course again. It was a 5-day course.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you want to keep doing this, you got to come back and learn more. And like, again, it's kind of, when you look at it, it's like a pain in the ass, but it's one of the few certifications now where it's like, you got to show back up, you got to sit down, you got to take the course again. You got to prove yourself year after year after year. And it was very unique in that sense, where he's like, I'm not putting my name on somebody that's bullshit. Yeah. So I think the education side of it, he was a big loss. I know I know people trash him a lot and stuff, but it was unbelievable. Yeah.
I mean, he really was a genius. I mean, it was such a thinking ahead of his time, and just really unbelievable memory, and you know, really
5 days without a PowerPoint, without looking at a note. He taught. It was unbelievable. It was like 10-hour days, and he would teach all this nutrition and supplementation stuff, and never look at a note. And people would fire questions at him, and he would have like very specific answers.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
I'd never seen anything like that. It was unbelievable.
It was. I mean, I remember he'd be referencing studies from like the late 80s.
Yeah.
What age, what journal it was in.
Yeah.
Like
people would ask him about studies, and he would. I'd never seen it. I had never seen it, and that was when you start realizing, like, oh man, I don't know anything. Like I literally, you get around people like that, and you're like, all right. Like I really don't know anything, and it's great. You know what I mean? It's like walking into a weight room and being the weakest guy in the weight room. You realize, like, oh shit, okay, I got to step my game up a little bit. It's the same thing with the education, and being in that room did it for me, like nothing else.
And it made you realize how much room for growth there was, which is cool, right?
Yeah.
You know, once you're exposed to that, it's like, man, really, really cool stuff. And then you took all that stuff that you learned and developed a whole program at Gabriel. You guys had going for a while with the different nutrition that you guys were doing. And I remember because we were looking to you for advice and how you run these programs. And it was really cool what you built, man. And but you systematized it, right? So that stuff could become overwhelming for a client. But you came up with, basically kind of like a precision nutrition, like habits, right? Like you were focusing on habits based on their goals. Talk a little bit about that nutrition program you had there at Gabriel.
Yeah, it's funny, Kyle, because it's the same conversation. The more you learn, right, the smarter idea. And like, I mean, you know, with the Poliquin stuff, it's like deep science stuff, right? You're talking about hormone modulation and all this stuff, but like all of that is bullshit if you can't get people to do anything.
Yep.
Right. So the more I learned the science, at the same time, I was also learning like it's useless unless you know how to coach people. So it's like that delicate balance of like, because like I was learning all the science stuff and I was trying to dump that on people, and it made me look smarter, but it didn't necessarily equate to better results.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, and that was frustrating for me to the point of like, I feel like I know so much more, but like it's not helping my clients. And so then you had to go into like, all right, how do I actually coach these people? How do I get them to do what I want them to do? It doesn't matter how smart you are. If you can't get them to do what you want to do, it's pointless. So like we built some systems as far as like, what are the basic nutritional habits that you need to build that foundation? And then how can we get you to do them and fit them into your life without overhauling your life? And that's really what that foundational stuff was like a combination of the deep science and then just some like basic coaching. Cause that's really what it came down to. It was like everything is useless if you can't get people to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it goes back. It's like training, like the old saying of like, you can have this really advanced training program, but if you can't coach people on it, it's useless.
It doesn't make a difference.
Right. But like a program like Bigger, Faster, Stronger, like if I gave you Bigger, Faster, Stronger, like I bet you could get people really, really strong. Like the Bigger, Faster, Stronger program from 1997, we could take that and give it to you, and you could get athletes really, really strong because you're a great coach. You know what I'm saying? But if you give a really advanced program to a really shitty coach, it's like it comes down to like, what can you get your people to do?
Yeah.
No matter how good the program is, and that's in the longer I go with this, that's what I realize.
Me too, man. I mean, and that goes with the nutrition and the training. It's usually the simple stuff is the most effective.
Yep.
You know, to try to do stuff, and you think you get a lot of coaches and trainers that can't get their head around that. They want to complicate the stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
but here's the truth. Like I was in that boat too, because like when I was learning the Biosig stuff, like I felt really smart, and I just wanted to show people how smart I was.
Yeah.
Right. So I was doing videos and writing articles, and like it was good in a sense of like people were looking at me as like, oh, you're an expert. But like I said, it wasn't necessarily helping me get better results.
Yeah.
And that's really the goal, right? How can we get these people to do better?
Yeah.
So it's like that's like, it's like the catch-22, you know?
It is, man. It's same boat with you, man. So talk about with Gabriel Fitness, you had various different roles there throughout the years. Talk about a little bit about the different roles that you've held at Gabriel over the years, and then we'll kind of segue into what you're currently doing.
Yes, I mean, basically, I did. I mean, whatever the role in a fitness business was, I was there. I started as a trainer, came in. Really had never really trained people before. You know, I had worked in weight rooms. I was a football coach, but like it was like that was what I wanted to do. And to be honest with you, when I first started there, it was more. And you're probably in the same boat because you were a football. You worked at Rutgers football.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people like meathead type guys like I wanted to train NFL players. I wanted to train guys for the NFL Combine. Like that's where my head was at. And that's when I met Vince. That's what he was doing, right? It was mostly athletes. And literally within a year of starting at Gabriel Fitness, 80% of my clients were 40 and over, right? Fat loss clients. And it was just like that's just how it goes. So it was kind of like an evolution for me as far as like I thought I was gonna be in this athletic world my whole life. And then it shifted, and year after year, I was training less athletes and more adults for fat loss and for health. And then that's really when my nutrition study. So I kind of started a nutrition program, and then we started doing marketing for that. So I was doing a lot of the marketing over there. And then just because of my longevity being there, we were hiring trainers that were younger than me. So I started teaching the trainers. And then it just kind of evolved from there to the point where I was the head trainer for a long time. I was doing a nutrition program. Like I said, just about every role you could do within the gym, I did at some point.
Yeah.
I wasn't really good at any of them, but I kind of did them all.
Well, I think you were great, man. I mean, because you have the presence, you have the ability to teach, which is huge. Again, like that goes back to what we were talking about. Most people can't teach in a simple way. But that's a mark of a great teacher when they can say, okay, here's a cue you can use. Like you've come in and talked to our staff about how to coach and the presence and cues and all that stuff. So I know it was very instrumental for Vince to have you there. And now you're still up there, right? You're still up there training one-on-one clients.
Yep.
So you got one-on-one. Tell us about what you're segueing into now. So you got one-on-one. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah. So I mean, I started. It's the fifth quarter project. This is something that I've kind of always been passionate about. I mean, it's like the hair club for men. Like I was my own first client, right?
Sure.
Like I was a former athlete, gained a bunch of weight. And the truth is like, I never really got help. I never got coached because I that's my own weight loss is what got me down the journey of like learning all the stuff about training, right? But I've always had buddies coming back to me, old teammates or guys that I knew just through playing ball that were like, you know, how'd you do it? How'd you lose weight? Can you help me out? So probably for the last 8 years, this is something that I did. Just wasn't charging anybody for it. Just old teammates, old buddies. I had a little Facebook group of guys that I would go on and give them tips, and we would do like, you know, little challenges and things like that. And a couple of them ended up losing 80 pounds, 100 pounds.
Wow.
And the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, I think there's something here. I think there's something here. I just don't know what it is yet. And then, you know, during the quarantine, you know, we were doing so much stuff virtually. We were doing so much stuff online. It's just kind of like I was getting more and more ideas in my head of, I think I could do like an online business here. I think because I mean, with this type of business, it's really more has to be like a,
sure.
It's not local. There's not enough of those type of people in this area for me to have my own gym or have them come to Gabriel, whatever it would be, right? So it has to be like a national kind of an audience. So that's really what I built out, and I launched it about a month and a half ago, the Fifth Quarter Project, and it's for former athletes that want to get healthy, that want to lose weight, and so far so good, man.
So the fifth, and now is it specializing in linemen, or is it any type of athlete?
No, any type of athlete. So I mean, really, it's just, and honestly, it's just like for people that were once in shape. And here's the truth, Kyle. Right? I'm gonna kill my own business, but it's like the principles aren't any different. Yeah. Right. Weight loss for a former athlete. I think the reason I'm targeted, number one, it's harder for I think those type of people. It was hard for me to ask for help. I never really did. Right. I think for someone who was once in really good shape, for someone who was once a high level athlete, it's embarrassing to say, listen, I'm in terrible shape right now. It's embarrassing, right? They look at themselves. There's like a little bit of an identity thing going on where it's like you see yourself as the 22-year-old stud playing college lacrosse or college football, whatever it is. And when you look in the mirror, you don't see that person anymore. You don't want to go into a gym and not be able to do the same amount of weight or not be in the same kind of shape. So it's embarrassing for those kind of people to ask for help. So I think that's really where the design came from, is like, this is a program that there's no judgment. There's none of that stuff. It's like, this is what it's geared for. It's geared for people that are afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. And I think it's great because, even though the principles don't change, people still need the coaching. They want to be around other people that are going through something similar.
Correct.
You get something common with higher level athletes once they stop playing. Not all of them, but a lot of them, you know, they kind of get lost. They continue on with those habits, maybe when they're, you know, doing these training nonstop, and they continue eating the same way, and all of a sudden their lifestyle has changed. So I think it's a really cool concept and name to the Fifth Quarter, like what's going on after the career is done. And you just ran your initial beta program, right?
Yep. So we had a 30-day program. We had about 20 people in there, and the results have been awesome. And here's the truth: it's like, this is a long-term thing. So, and that's the hard part from like, you know, we had some guys lose 15 pounds, 20 pounds, and people get better at it. But the goal of this is to do what we just talked about, is like teach people fundamentals, the fundamental basic, you know, whether it's lifestyle, it's training, it's nutrition, to put those habits in place. Because it's like, if you got to lose 80 pounds, you're not going to do that in 30 days.
No.
Right. So it's like, my goal with this is to like, I want to work myself out of a job in a sense. But like, I want to teach you how you can train on your own, how you can, like, I'm sitting in my home garage, right? And so like doing it virtually, most of these guys are working out at home, or they're working out in gyms on their own. It's like, I want to teach you how to do that by yourself. Yeah. I want to teach you how to take this nutrition plan. I mean, it's the same thing with you in the Panda Challenge, right? It's the simplicity of how do we fit this into your life?
That's it, man.
Because I think there's a lot of programs out there that are like, you got to overhaul your whole life in order to fit this in. And then once that time frame is up, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And that's not like, I wanted to flip it and say, look, show me what your day looks like. Let's see how we can fit these things in there. And then whether it takes 30 days, you know, we have some people that are going to go, you know, that are going multiple phases of it. So we have like phases built in, but the whole goal is like, we have these 5 fundamental principles that we use, and we're trying to fit them into your life and just get you used to doing these basic things every day. And then, you know, there's going to be times of the year where we tighten it up a little bit. And then there's times of the year, like it was Memorial Day weekend this past weekend, right? So people were out drinking and eating. So the goal was like, let's just get you through that without gaining any weight.
Yeah.
Like, can we get through these 4 or 5 days? And when you come back, you feel okay. Like, cause you're not, and I think you got to be realistic with people like that. So
1,000%, I agree with that. It's good to hear you say that, you know, coaching yourself, you know, out of a job. I always thought that too, man. You should be able to teach people. That's the whole idea, right? It's being able to teach people what they need to do on their own. If they want to stay with you, that's fine, but it's not because
Right.
the knowledge thing at that point. You know, maybe they want the accountability. Maybe they just like being coached by you. You know, maybe they like the relationship, but that's the way it should be, is teach these people, you know, teach them how to fish, right?
Yeah. I mean, from a training standpoint, I always loved it when I was training at Gabriel, when people would come back in and they'd go on the road and they would come back and be like, oh, the hotel had this and this, and I was able to do my workout. And like, I didn't have to be there to train them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I train them well enough where they can go, and no matter where they are, they're in their garage, they're in a hotel gym, they're at wherever, Bally's, whatever, they can figure out how to do. And then same thing with nutrition. Whatever restaurant they go to, they can figure out how to eat properly. And like, that's the goal with it, is like, anybody can just hand you a plan and it'll probably work. Right. But long term, it doesn't really help anybody. And that's
the key.
That's really my goal. It's more of like an education program where like, we're going to teach you, like you said, teach them how to fish.
That's it, man. Now talk, I got a few more questions for you. So
Yeah.
let's talk about mindset, because, you know, I know what it's like. So you had Vince's full time for 13 years. And now you make the decision that you're still there, you're still training people, cutting way back, and you also have other one-on-one clients. You got the fifth quarter. What was that mindset like? What was going through your head when you decided, okay, I got to give this a fair shot. I got to do this, because I know that's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, man. That's a great question. There was a lot going on. I think what it came down to was like, you know, this is something that I had been. It was one of those things where like it's just been on my mind the whole time, and it was like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna regret it forever. Like it was, and that was really. Here's the truth. Like, I'm not, you know, feeding the hungry. I'm not saving the whales. It's like, but there's a group of people out there that I think need help, right? And I've had friends, teammates that have died, right? Guys in their 40s, guys in their 30s, that lost structure. So some of them have been alcohol and drug related, right? But I think part of that is because that you come from a very structured, you know, athletes are used to being the structure. And that's really what happens, is that all of a sudden you're 23, 24, and all this structure leaves your life. And then a lot of guys go off the rails. So, you know, I've seen people get in a lot of trouble, but not having that structure. And then same thing from a health standpoint. I've had old teammates in their 40s, in the late 30s and 40s pass away. And I'm like, every time I heard about it, I'm like, God damn it. Like I have the skill set to help these people.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's doing. I mean, there's some people out there that are doing the similar thing, and it's like, that's fine. Like, there's plenty of people that need our help, right? Because I don't know. I mean, you were an athlete, and you probably see it. Like, it's 50-50. Half the people that I know, and you probably see, like, everyone sees these before and after pictures of like these NFL linemen that are losing weight, right? There's a bunch of them. They run marathons, and it's awesome. But there's a whole other section of people that are 400, 500 pounds.
Yeah.
They're not posting pictures on social media.
No,
right. They're right. It's like, and so like, I saw this like section of people. It's like, this is my tribe. These are my people. And I've been there. So I'm like, I gotta go help these people. I don't want to get another text message that so-and-so that we played with in 2001 died in his sleep. I don't want to get another text message that this guy's in rehab, or that whatever it is. Like, I'm tired of that shit. So that was really the catalyst, I think, for me, where it was like, there's some people that need some help. I have the skills to help them. Let's do this.
And it's not only them you're helping, right? It's going to be other people that see it, but then their families, right? A lot of these guys have children,
right?
You know, they got spouses, they got wives, they got, so it could have a whole trickle down effect for who knows how many generations, you know, it really could. So it's a powerful thing.
Kyle, are you 40?
I'll be 40 in August.
Oh, that's right. I'm turning 40 in August too, right? Yeah. And here's the truth. Like, I was an offensive lineman. So when you're an offensive lineman, the joke is like, it's like fat kids, right? Like, oh, you're a fat boy. We call each other chubby. And when you're in your 20s, that's cute, right? It's funny. It's funny to like go to McDonald's and eat a bunch of burgers. It's funny to go to the burrito joint that has the 4-pound burrito and see, like, and that was the culture that we were in, right? Being the big guy, being the fat guy, calling each other chubbies. The coaches would call us fat, teammates, but it was like, that was our thing. But now we're 40, Kyle. Yeah. And it's like, that's scary shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's not like you're doing the old folks home, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's not too many nursing homes you walk into and you're like, damn, that guy's huge.
Yeah.
Right. Like big people don't make it very long. That's just the fact that's just the fact of the matter. Right. And it's like being 300 pounds and being 400 pounds when you're playing ball is okay. But when you're starting to talk about being 40 and 50, and like you said, having young kids,
yeah,
it's like that, like it's scary shit. And like that was really the catalyst for me, was like people gotta get healthy. Like you can't be 300 pounds anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason, unless you're a professional strongman, which I don't know any personally, right? That unless you're doing that, or like you're powerlifting, I can't think of another reason to be 40 years old and be 300 pounds.
There's no reason. There's none, man.
And there's a lot of those dudes out there.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's also a mindset, Kyle. It's like, it's hard. Like I'm the big guy, right? I'm big. Like, what did you call him? You introduced me as Big Tom, right? Yeah. So like I walked into Starbucks every day and I talked about being a football player every single day. Like I wasn't very good. Last time I put a helmet on was 20 years ago, and I was not a good player. But I still talk about it every day because people, and like there's an identity to that. And I think sometimes with some of these big guys, it's like hard to think like, I don't want to be skinny because like I've been the big guy my whole life. I think there's a lot of mental side to it too, where it's like that's their identity.
Huge. I know from when I was bodybuilding, and I'm always weary when people ask me to help them with that now, because you see, like in that culture, it's probably similar. They start to confuse their body image with their self-image, and then they can't get out of it. Then they're trapped. And I was like, hey, you know, so then once people get to get people like what you're doing, these men, these women potentially, is getting them to say that that's something you did. That's not who you are, right? That's not just because you played ball. That's done now. Now let's go on with the rest of your life, you know, and getting them to connect that dot, which I think you're going to be brilliant at doing for these guys. So really cool, man. Very noble. And I know it's not. You had this vision, and you have a really deep reason why, and it's very noble because you still had to overcome the fear of leaving this security.
Yeah.
This secure spot you've had at Vince's, at Gabriel for years, for 13 years. So very inspirational, man. You don't see many people step out and do something. You know, so good job by you, man.
Thank you, Kyle.
So
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I've been following you, you know, and I'll make sure we put some links in the notes, but your content's been great with all this stuff. I mean, if somebody's content because I don't really browse around social, I just post stuff for the business and get off with it. Your stuff has been catching my attention, and I'll click on it. What's it talking about, you know, with the Mark Eaton stuff, just really stuff that's interesting, you know. So
poor Mark Eaton, man. I'll be honest with you. I think he had a bike accident, which kind of made me. It sounds crazy, but it's like I was hoping it wasn't a heart attack or something like that, because it's like it's not uncommon to see that with I mean, 7'4".
7'4", man. I mean,
it sounds like he got shot off. I mean, he got flipped off his bike or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but that's one of those things. You don't see too many 7-footers in the nursing home.
You think about it now. You think about Andre the Giant, man. I mean, there's so many stories out of people. You know, there's just, you know, it's really a fascinating subculture. What couple of quick hitters?
Yeah.
And I'll let you get on with your day. What's your one of your favorite books? I know you're a big reader. What's one of your favorite books when I say favorite book?
That's a great question. Favorite book? Probably How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's one that I read like when I first started Gabriel Fitness.
Yeah.
That was a huge one for me, as far as like, because I think getting out of the mindset of like working with athletes and then having to work with normal people.
Yeah.
And like how do you relate to someone without cursing at them? How do you relate to someone like building that skill of like how to be personable, and it's carried over into everything, like, you know, how to build relationships. I think that's what all this is about, is just building relationships and having people trust you. So I think that was a big one. Have you read the book Living with Seal, the Jesse Itzler book?
No, I went to one of his courses. I know Goggins lived with him, right? I haven't read the book.
Yes. So I recommend it to so many people. I don't know why. It's just like there's an audible version of it, and it's almost like a podcast. But and it's him reading the book, and he kind of tells the story. But it's like his business life and when Goggins is living with him. That's for me. I recommend that book to so many people, because it's like it's inspirational. Yeah, it's the audible version of living. He did one Living with Monks, where he went and lived with monks with tube, but the seal one is better.
All right, I can check that out.
But it's like a bit. He talks about his entrepreneurial path and like how he grew up, and then also like he intersperses it with the 30 days that Doddins live with them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, that's one I recommend. So like from an entertainment standpoint, that's one I recommend to a lot of people. But you got to do the Audible version of it.
Audible,
For some reason he reads it and it's just really good.
All right, I went through his course like 2 years ago. But I'll definitely get to pick that up. So I like Goggins too, man.
Yeah,
that'd be good. What about 5 years from now? What do you see for your life?
5 years from now, it's a great question, Kyle. I want to grow. Here's the long-term vision. You ready? Is fifth quarter farm.
Nice.
Right. And to go, and me and my wife have already talked about it, like whether it's West Jersey or wherever, somewhere outside. I mean, right now we're kind of in the suburbs, but like to go to a plot of land. We were at a horse farm in, Chester, New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So we were in Chester. We had it was like a birthday party for my niece in Chester. And I'm at this horse farm, and all I could think about was like, this would be a cool place to have like a commercial kitchen, to have like and basically make it like an education center.
Yeah.
Where people come. Exactly what we were talking about. We teach them how to cook. We teach them how to train. You come and stay, and basically like make it a fat farm.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And you come and stay, and we teach you the skills, and then whatever have workout classes like that. So it wouldn't be a day-to-day gym, but a place like a place for people to come and learn, and that's where I see it.
I think that's fantastic, man. Really cool. What would you tell the 20-year-old version of yourself, knowing what you know now about life or whatnot? What advice would you give 20-year-old Tom?
I would tell him to get some financial help, to fix your credit and get some financial help, because I think that was something that I haven't done until recently. And I would talk to him about the long-term health stuff, where it's like at that point it's not something that you really think about. And I think part of what I want to do with the fifth quarter is not just help the guys that are in trouble, but like we talked about, working yourself out of a job, is going back to some of these younger guys and being like, look, here's what's happening. You're gonna be done playing ball in a couple of years here. I mean, that's the truth. Like the longest your career goes is like 30 is ancient, and that's if you play 10 years in the NFL, right? Which is super rare.
Yeah.
But like majority of people are done in their early 20s, and it's like if you don't realize what's going on now, like you're setting yourself up for a long road. When like you can start building some habits in now that are gonna set you up health wise a lot better off.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that would be the advice, where it's like, listen, you can still have a good time and be healthy and kind of find that balance.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for the fifth quarter. In the future, you're going to talk to some of these college programs for the guys that are finishing their college career. Because like you said, most of them aren't playing pro ball.
Yep.
But what do they do now? It's like everything from it's their identity to their what are they doing in the weight room?
Right. And we talk about the politics of the hormones. Like if you can get these guys that are 300 pounds when they're in their early 20s, like you can see some radical changes pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what you're seeing a lot of these like former NFL players. Like my old teammate Joe Staley played for the 49ers forever. He just lost a bunch of weight and the picture went viral, right? There's a lot of guys, and I think they're like, when you're a professional athlete or you're playing at a high level, and all of a sudden you flip that switch and you have a good amount of muscle mass, it's pretty easy to get it done right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like you can make some radical changes. But like for me, it was like 2-3 years of losing muscle, gaining fat, and now you're 400 pounds. That's a different game now. Like if you got 10-15 years of bad habits, it's not just physically it's really hard to do, but also mentally it's much harder to flip that switch. So if I can get them at a younger age, I think I know we went off on a tangent, but that's what I would tell my younger self is like, get your shit together now. Yeah. So you don't have to worry financially and physically. So you don't have to worry about it when you're 35 and 40.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. It's I guess that's why as we age, we get a little more wisdom, right?
Right. Right.
Realize stuff like that. So where can people how can they get in touch with you about the fifth quarter? What's the best way if they're looking for personal training?
Right now I'm building out the website. We're building all the back end stuff. That's what I told you. That's the stuff that I'm terrible at, is the electronic stuff, which I'm gonna get better at. But just on social media, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Just search Tom Langton, Langton, on both Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And just send me a message. You get me directly if anybody's interested or has questions or whatever. Yeah. Or if you know someone, and that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people watch this, and it's like people start popping up in your head of like, that sounds like this guy I went to high school with, or that sounds like my cousin, or like, I think that's the thing of like, if you know someone who this you think this can resonate with, send them my way.
Certainly, man. I'm definitely going to keep my ears open for you. And if anybody, when they do hear this, because this is recorded, I think what separates you, you have the knowledge base as a coach, but you kind of talked. I was going to mention when you're talking about how to win friends and influence people. One of the main things as a coach, and what you've always done really great, is you got the social and emotional intelligence. Which a lot of coaches, it doesn't matter how smart they are, they lack those things. How to relate with people, and just talk to them and make them feel comfortable, make them laugh, and that's huge. So people out there, I mean, Tom's the guy for that, because that is, to me, the most undervalued part of coaching are those two IQs, those two intelligences, which you have. So
thank you, Kyle.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
I've always looked up to you for that, man. So that's good. All right, man, let me bring this to a close. This has been a great one. We're just going to stop and then